Hey, good afternoon. Happy 1 o'clock. What's going on? I think we definitely need some more cameras on.
Good afternoon.
I think we definitely need some more cameras on. Yes, I'm talking to you. Oh, look at that. See how spectacular. Thank you so much. Has anyone ever sat and run a Zoom meeting with a whole ton of people on it and literally had to stare at blank black boxes with names on it? It's just not something I'm willing to do. I love you all dearly, but you got to show me your faces. There we go. We're getting there. We're getting there. We're almost to a whole full screen.
I'm driving.
Okay, so let's dive right in. We got a whole bunch of people in the waiting room, so we'll be clicking them in as we go. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're excited to be able to kind of bring you an update on a bunch of our services, as well as announce to you our 2021 compensation options and what those look like, kind of how you dive into them, when it's all going to actually officially launch and roll out, and all those great things. So do me a favor, if you would, hold all of your questions until the end, right? Jot down the questions that you might have so that we can be certain that we address anything that is a question mark for you. And yet, I want to make sure that we kind of have an opportunity to run through this uninterrupted, because it's a lot of information. So just be ready for it, right? You're not supposed to be able to pass a quiz on this at the end of 20 minutes, right? Because it's a lot of information to push your way. It's a lot of information to digest. And I'll be talking about the programs that we have in place to assist you in doing that as we move through. Okay. And I apologize in advance if I cut anybody's video off, because if you are on the phone with somebody else and not kind of focused in on this, it's distracting to everybody else. So I will cut your video. If you have a phone call, you have to take a phone call, you have to step out, please just stop your video. That would be awesome. All right, so why are we here today? So we are here today because the only thing that I have ever known to be a constant is evolution, right? With everything evolves, everything kind of morphs from one version to another, and you know, we take very seriously our role in being a support system for you, right? That's kind of what we do for a living, right? We operate underneath your businesses to make sure that you are as supported as you want to be able to grow as big and as strong and as powerful as you choose to be as business owners. And what's kind of fascinating is our ability to do that is sometimes limited by the compensation options that we have always offered, right? And so we have always lived inside of a high volume, low margin model, which talks about capped contributions, right? And so when you live inside of a world where there is everyone has a cap to their income, when the market center's income is capped, it can sometimes translate into a services issue, right? Because we're here to discuss what win-win opportunities there are, right? We're looking at having options that allow you to make some choices, for you to put more money in your pocket, for you to operate differently, or at least as you so choose, as well as make sure that we still have an organization that is profitable so that we can turn around and then profit share back to you and provide the services that you need to run businesses. So this conversation today is really about our next, the evolution of the next version of what we look at as how can we be a bigger, better support system for you and still keep everyone keep everything that we have developed and promised to you running, right? So there's that two-way street, right? So I want you to look and view all of these things from the perspective of not just how does this necessarily impact me, but how does it impact my colleagues? How does it impact the market center as a whole? How does it impact our ability to profit share, right? All of the things that should be important to all of us, which is different than how does this just impact me, right? Because the world is bigger than that. And as partners in an organization and as teammates, we have to always be thinking from that perspective. Make sense? So that's kind of the foundation of where we're starting today. It's about a conversation to move us forward. It's about a conversation to say, hey, you know what? We've been talking with you minimally for the last 6 to 12 months about areas you think that we should be stronger in, things that we weren't providing that would be helpful to you, things that pop up in some of our competitors' offerings that we weren't offering, right? Opportunities for you to choose the way you want to get paid. So the conversation we're about to have is called KW My Way, right? And just like at McDonald's, when you go into McDonald's and order some version of their food, when you order at McDonald's, you get it their way, right? There's one way that McDonald's stuff is made, and that's how you get to have it. Now, when I was a kid, I ran a Burger King. Burger King was always about have it your way, right? You remember? And you can't imagine, truly you can't imagine some of the weird requests we would get about how people wanted it their way. And yet, because that was our value proposition, we were called upon to kind of step on back and say, hey, you know what? If that's the way you want it, we'll be happy to figure that part out. Now, in an organization that's 550 people strong, having it exactly your way is almost impossible. And yet I think what we're going to present to you today is a version of that makes good sense, that lays out options and then options inside of those options. So KW My Way is our path forward. And the last thing I'll say before I get into what that all looks like is this. It's our path forward minimally for 2021, right? Because we're going to continue to look at everything that we roll out to you and make sure it's as powerful as we wanted it to be, to make sure that it's exactly what you wanted it to be, to make sure that it's actually helpful, to make sure that it is really, truly a support system underneath your business. And if it's not, well, then we'll change it again, right? We'll just keep tweaking it until it really does sing. That doesn't mean that what we're about to present to you is like a rough draft. Trust me, it's not. We've been working on this for months and months and months to get it to a point of it being as right as it's going to be for now. And yet, we just want you to know that we're not afraid to look at something and say, you know what, that didn't work exactly the way we hoped it would. Let's tweak it. Let's just keep evolving and keep moving forward. Make sense? Okay. They're saying, all right, Rick, we get it. We get the point. Let's get to the meat and potatoes, please. Well, I had to give you a little intro. Plus, you know, intros are valuable for one thing. They allow the folks who are coming on a little late to not miss anything and then ask questions later on. So there is actually strategy behind an intro. All right. So I'm going to share my screen with you all so that you have some version of visual. Let me just get that ready. Okay, hold just a second. There we go. Okie dokie. So we're going to start here. And that is with our big tree of KW My Way. And you know what? Let me reduce that a little bit so that you can see it. Okay. Who do I see on my screen still? Lori, can you see the whole page now? Just nod your head if you can. Okay, perfect. So I know that might be small, and again, you guys are going to get all of this, so no worries. But I want to give you the whole picture first, and then we'll kind of go into each of the pieces at the top, right? So where I want to make sure we start today is everything that remains exactly the same, because a lot of what we're going to talk about is just a reiteration of our foundation, right? Now you live inside of an organization that is rooted in culture, right? And so as you can see from this graphic, that culture is our bedrock. That culture is where everything that we build on top of it comes from. It's a culture of KW Cares. It's a culture of sharing and masterminding. It's a culture that says God and family first and the business second. It's a culture that has a set of principles in the Y4C2Ts. It's a culture of training and coaching and consulting, and it's a culture where we open the books and profit share back to you, right? All of that remains crazy important. And so everything we build on top of that, just remember, is rooted, no pun intended, literally rooted in this graphic, in the culture of our organization. Now, on top of that, and I'm going to blow this up a little bit so that you can see this middle part a little bit better. And so rooted right in the middle of all of that are values and services. Now, many of these values and services have existed forever. Some of them are newer to you, right? Some of them we're literally rolling out to you as we speak. And some of them are still have a slight coming soon available to them. But I want to just run through these with you so that you understand, because the models that we're going to talk about on the top part of this graphic, ultimately, each of them has the opportunity to kind of plug into any and all of these services and value. And that starts with the new full line of KW Concierge Services, right? Many of you have been piloting the compliance management and document upload, as well as the listing upload, for the past 2 weeks. You will hear tomorrow morning that program is now ready for full-blown use. And there will be trainings on, I believe, Wednesday and Friday of this week, and then 2 more next week to get you fully on board with utilizing those services. And those are services that allow the Market Center to take care of your listing upload for you with new listings, as well as get your documentation with pendings and new listings into command from a compliance perspective, all at no additional cost to you. And then, of course, there's the full transaction management program, which you have heard is on its way, right? The date on that one is May the 1st for rollout. And then a marketing program, the date on that is April the 1st. Now, April 1st and May the 1st are dates for the beta testing to begin. So it's probably 2 weeks after each of those dates before we have full rollout, so that we make sure that we catch the bugs before we push it out full. Of course, supporting all of that is the productivity coaching program, which we are continuing to improve and continuing to grow. Jen and Daniela and I have, and your team leaders have met a whole bunch recently to add some additional exciting programs and opportunities to the productivity coaching program to make it even more powerful than it is, and to make it open and available to even more of you than currently participate. So that's exciting. The KW investment program, you know that we've moved into an insurance joint venture, which allows you to have in-house insurance, as well as the opportunity for some of you, based on production, to actually invest in that insurance joint venture. Profit share, which of course is a tried and true opportunity for you to grow passive income and create kind of unlimited retirement opportunity for yourself. Our real estate partnerships, which, just by the way, we close on our first 2 on Friday. Ooh, baby. right, available for everyone and anyone who's interested in buying investment real estate who doesn't necessarily want to do it on their own. So all of those things currently on the table, and we are working, continuing to work on our Market Center Equity Program as well. So that's probably a summer conversation and launch around your ability to have equity in our market centers. So watch for more information around that Market Center Equity Program. The other thing that we are looking at for a summertime launch is the KW Leads program. We are actively engaging in a Market Center based leads program based on Facebook ads and paid leads and legacy leads. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this program right now, and yet understand that as we continue to move towards the summer, this will be released small and then wide, so that if in fact you are interested in plugging into an opportunity where you're not generating the lead, there will be that opportunity for those who desire it. If, for example, say you, I don't know, say you have a baby and you step back from the business for 2 or 3 months, and then you're looking to step back in and need kind of a primer to get those leads flowing again. Maybe you were ill, right, or had surgery, and that took you out of the game for a month or two. Maybe you just don't like to lead generate and you'd prefer that someone else did it for you, right? So all of those things will be opportunities inside of our KW Leads program. And again, you'll have more information on that as we roll it. KW Luxury, you've seen the new relaunch of that. So much of it is so excellent. And so I encourage you, if you have not looked into the new KW Luxury materials, please dive into that because it's really excellent. And KW Commercial, which is another growing opportunity inside of our organizations as we hire talented commercial folks. Our in-house mortgage partners who just continue to get better and better, and we're so appreciative for everything that they do. The MREA models and systems, which is what we base so much of our training and our growth opportunities on. A commission advance program, which ultimately has existed for some time now, just kind of quietly. That's going to be less quiet in the next couple of months as we officially launch that inside of the market centers, such that if you need and desire an advance on a commission that we have documentation on and that is already scheduled to close, we will work with you on that. The whole idea of all of these things is to give you things on the inside that you pay less for than if you had to go on the outside. Any of you who have taken advantage of the commission advance program in the last couple of years that we have quietly made it available to those who needed it, I think will tell you that there's some crazy numbers out there, and we do things a whole lot differently to make sure that there's still a win-win with how that all works. KW Seller Concierge, again, something that we are actively moving forward on. I said to you guys the other day that we're not waiting for Gary to release this across the country. Gary does have a version of KW Seller Concierge ready and available. However, it's only available in 4 or 5 markets right now, and our market is not one of them. And so we are not going to wait for his version. We are finalizing our own version. And what that means is there will be, by the summer or so, an opportunity for you to work with your sellers where we will go ahead and cover costs of painting or some upgrades that they need to do, all within certain parameters, and then they pay us back at closing. So we're excited to be able to offer that to you as well. And then lastly, but certainly not least, is KW Command, the technology platform that is available to each of you, that literally gets better each day that it gestates and grows. So recognize that if you're not plugging into that at this moment in time, you're really missing out on tools that can help make your life simpler. So that's a whole lot of words to talk about a foundation of culture that we then build value and services on top of. And then if you look at the top of this tree, there are really 3 different models or options. There's KW Classic, KW Custom, and KW Collaborative that exist, all of which plug into everything below it. We're going to go through each of those right now. And then, of course, you have some specialty items as well in Collaborative Plus, and then of course KW Conquer, which is designed for our larger teams. So with that, I'm going to pivot a second and head to the actual models. He says confidently. Here we go. Okay, there we go. All right, so here's the really, really fun news for you. The really fun news is if you look at our compensation plan and decide that it's exactly what you were looking for, here's the good news. KW Classic exists for you, right? KW Classic is not very different from what everybody enjoys right now, right? KW Classic is just that. It is the classic version of a capped revenue model with support underneath it. And so here's what that looks like. So KW Classic, for everyone who is not interested in making any kind of a change, we have KW Classic for you. The caps are the caps, depending on your market center affiliation. Splits have always been 70-30, and there's been a variable version, right, depending on your production. Sometimes some of you have come to us for different caps. Sometimes we have come to you for different caps, which we have, different splits, which we've always entertained based on cash flow, right? So if someone is a $30 million producer, well, they oftentimes cap very, very quickly. So sometimes we'll move that split higher to spread out the company dollar, because there's still a cap on the company dollar. And sometimes when it shows up in a month, it can create more cash flow issues. So we make adjustments for that. And so in this new KW Classic version, the caps are the caps and the split is 70-30 unless you choose a variable split, right? Now, variable splits happen at these production rates. So anyone $8 million or above has the opportunity to dive into any of these other valuable splits based on your last 2 years production. We used to always just have the cap be guaranteed. Moving forward, the guarantee will be one of two things. It's either just a flat out guarantee if you so choose, or you can enroll in what we call our profit protection program. And what that ultimately is a monitoring system that the market center then sets up for you, where after 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, and 10 months, we will just kind of review where you're at under that current split to make sure that you're on target to be certain that you cap, so that there's no issue with your profit at the end of the year, because cap guarantees say that we'll pay you at whatever split you choose. The cap is the cap, though. And so once you move off of that 70-30, we're going to ask you to guarantee that cap. So the profit protection program is just a different version of that, where we monitor you. You can choose the split that you'd like. However, you move, we'll move through the year with you to make sure that it all works. Transaction fees stay the same. You only pay transaction fees once you are capped, and they are capped at 4 per month. The new stuff in KW Classic lives here in these perks, right? And so, as you know, all listings upload for everyone who chooses it, and then compliance and document management for every transaction that you write, all now included in your cap at no additional cost to you. And then the other perks that we've added here in the KW Classic is that if you are a capper to be, someone who is not yet capped or hasn't capped in your previous anniversary year, you receive credits, 4 credits for any eligible concierge service, right? And so, as I mentioned before, we're rolling out full transaction management services, which means as soon as you write a piece of business, you hand that over to a transaction manager, and they handle the documentation, the coordination between the attorneys, and the the mortgage company, and all of those things that you typically do to make sure that the transaction moves from accepted offer to closing gets handed over to a transaction manager so that you are then free to go and write some more business, right? And so in the KW Classic world, that would be an add-on to your compensation option here. However, for anyone who is not capped yet, we ultimately have 4 credits for you. They're about $250 each, so that's about a $1,000 credit. If you choose to use one of your credits for a digital ticket to family reunion or mega camp moving forward, you can certainly do that as well. And then any capper, so anyone who capped in their previous anniversary year, if they choose to stay in Classic, they also receive credits. Those credits are doubled to 8 for up to a $2,000 opportunity, plus every year a registration to the digital version of Family Reunion and or Mega Camp. One of the questions that's come up is, well, what if I choose to actually attend Family Reunion next year in Orlando, because it will be live and they'll do a digital version? And the answer to that is, we will then contribute the digital cost to your trip. So it's the digital ticket or the cash equivalent of that ticket. So that's your Classic, right? So Classic ultimately is pretty much exactly what you know right now, with a couple of improvements and a couple of tweaks. Option number 2, KW Custom. So KW Custom is a compensation option that allows for more personal caps. And here's what that means. You each have an average sales price determined by your previous production, right? And so after 12 months with the company, KW Custom becomes an opportunity for you. If you're in your first 12 months, KW Custom is currently off the table for you because there's no average sale price to base it on, right? But the average sale price approach for those with the company at least 12 months is the higher of either your last 12 months or an average of the last 2 years, whichever is higher. And you can see that then if you fall into either any of these categories where your average sale price is lower than the average sale price that the Market Center's caps were built off of, you then have the opportunity to move your compensation plan to this custom plan. And so anything under $300,000, you have a new cap of $25,000. Anything between $3 and $350,000, a cap of $29,000. Anything between $350,000 and $4,000, a cap of $33,000. And then anything $400,000 or above are just at your regular Market Center caps, because that's what your Market Center's caps were built from, right? This is an opportunity for people who are maybe geographically challenged by average sale price. Because we do have a bunch of you who don't live in Fairfield County, or live in parts of Fairfield County where the average sale prices are different than the average sale prices around where your Market Centers were built. And so we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to be treated as fairly as everybody else. Here's what I can tell you. All of this is based on selling the exact same number of houses, right? And so if there's somebody whose average sale price is, $290,000 and now has a custom cap of $25,000, they still have to sell the same number of houses as somebody whose average sale price is $425,000 or $450,000, right? So it evens the playing field. For those people. The splits here are 70-30 flat. The transaction fees are $100 or $150, depending on your Market Center, per closed side, right? The difference here is that transaction fees show up from transaction number 1, not after you've capped, right? So part of the deal with a custom cap is there is a transaction fee for each closing, and those are also capped at 4 per month for heavy closing months. And then, of course, the listings upload and the compliance and document management that is included now in everybody's. So that's KW Custom. Again, I know this is a lot of information, so I'm going to keep going, and then we'll download it afterwards. KW Collaborative. So KW Collaborative is our version of a supported real estate model, right? The first two, classic and custom, kind of keep us in our KW lane of we have a capped model with support underneath it. This brings us down a very different path, which is, what if we had a Keller Williams real estate office that didn't have a cap? What would that look like, right? And part of the reason we went down this path and made this a choice for you is that there are 1 million real estate agents in the United States that choose not to have a cap. And so we wanted to make sure that if that was something that was appealing to you, that was available to you, because currently it is not, right? So the KW Collaborative model looks like this. There is no cap on company dollar. You do still, however, have a cap on your royalty. That is something that is not changing. Your splits, again, determined by your last 2 years of production. And so 0 to 4 million, right up to, well, and there's one missing here. There's a 90-10 piece of this over $20 million. And so, so we have all this broken out for you depending on what your production is. If you choose this option, you would then also choose what split you were looking at. There is a file fee of $395 per closed side. And what that includes is the listings upload, the compliance and document management, transaction management for every single closed side, a marketing package with each new listing, a marketing package with each closed side. The marketing package is just to give you an idea of what what we're talking about there is production of the artwork for a brochure for your new listing, for postcards for your new listing, for social media posts for your new listing. And then with the closed side, the same kinds of things, but more on the sold side of things, not the listed side of things. And so we create all of that stuff for you. We take over calling up the sign for you and bringing it down. So services that we can package for you, so that you are then free to push forward and simply close more business, because all of the back end stuff that many of you spend so much time on is now being taken care of. That's collaborative. There's also Collaborative Plus. Collaborative Plus is for any agent who in the last 12 months has closed $8 million in volume or more. Collaborative Plus is all the same as collaborative. There is no cap. You're at variable splits depending on production. You have all of those things included. And we add in a new listings concierge service. And so what that means is for every new listing that you take, the listing photography, including a floor plan, is all handled. The creation and production of 20 printed brochures for that particular property, and the creation of a digital brochure for the property. $100 credit for either postcards or digital ads, depending on the path that you want to go down. Creation of social media graphics for the new listing, and then custom listing presentations. So again, Collaborative and Collaborative Plus are kind of, they're the same. The plus is for anyone $8 million and above in the previous 12 months. We add to your version of collaborative because most people who are at $8 million and above are starting to become or already are listing side heavy. And so the service that's going to be added to to collaborative in the Collaborative Plus is specifically designed to offload much of the listings services work that gets done. And then lastly, we have KW Conquer, and this is for our teams. It's for our high-end teams. And what I'm going to do ultimately is kind of give you a brief description, because this is rarefied air today, right? We only have two teams that are working in this. And yet the whole idea is after $40 million, a team moves from where they currently are to, or they can choose to have a team cap, right? The team cap is 2.5 caps paid to the market center. And then the team itself moves to 100%. And what that really looks like is each person on the team continues to pay their cap, which in most cases they're now at half caps across the team stratosphere. They continue to pay company dollar, except the market center doesn't keep the company dollar. We reimburse the rainmaker with that company dollar, right? So once the team moves to this KW Conquer version in team caps, that's how that all works. Again, for those of you who meet this criteria, I'll be happy to have a conversation with you guys personally, because for most, this is something that you're moving towards. It's not necessarily one of your options today. So that is where we're at. You've got KW Classic, and again, remember, if no change, or if all of this is like, you've got to be kidding me, I have no idea how this is all going to work, I just want to be left alone, please just leave me exactly where I was, KW Classic is here to your rescue, right? Not many changes, and as a matter of fact, to your rescue with some added value that you didn't have yesterday. If some of these other options make sense to you, then we'll move in a direction to make sure that is available. Now I'm going to talk for just 2 more minutes to give you to answer some questions that I know will come up, and then I'll open it up for questions. So get ready. Don't unmute yet. I'll tell you. So one question that I'm certain all of you have is how am I ever supposed to figure out what the best option is for me? Well, the answer to that question is you don't have to do that alone. You can certainly do it alone if you choose, but we encourage you to hop in to what we call our Confident Choice program. And our Confident Choice program is going to be designed, with opportunities for you to ask questions in small groups, depending on the option or model that you're looking to get more information around. That will begin in the course of the next couple of weeks. We'll also start to set up one-on-one conversations. The real bedrock of that Confident Choice program is if it doesn't make sense to you, we will sit down with you one-on-one and look at what your last 12 months production would have looked like in Classic, Custom, or Collaborative, and what your goals say about your next 12 months and what that would look like in each of those 3 models, and answer all of your questions for you. So the good news is you don't have to do this alone, right? This isn't us throwing something out at you and saying, hey, you know what, good luck. Again, we know it's a lot of information. We've been living inside of it for the last 6 months or so, and we are well aware of the drinking from a fire hose that we're asking you to actually do today. There are lots of other options for you in terms of getting the help that you need. And as we get closer and closer to this officially rolling itself out, we will give you those options. But be prepared for the Confident Choice program to be your safety net. The other question that I know everyone has is when do we start making these choices? How do we roll, right? So some of those new opportunities that you have include programs that we are just finalizing and launching, right? So the answer is not tomorrow. And yet, because so many of those programs are literally this close to rolling out, April 1st, May 1st, and June 1st, what we are looking at right now is a June 1st opportunity for you then to start making these choices. Now, how that will work is you will start making choices based on your anniversary date. Now, before you freak out and say, well, that's not fair, my anniversary date was in April, and now I have to wait an entire year, we will have an opportunity and a program month by month working backwards from January through June in terms of anniversary dates for you to then decide if you want to roll earlier, right? There will be opportunities where it makes sense and there will be opportunities where it doesn't make sense. And if it does make sense, we're more than happy to have you make a change earlier than your anniversary date. But again, that has to happen kind of individually so we can see where you're at in your year. So minimally, starting May the 1st, we will start setting up conversations with those of you who are going to start rolling, or your anniversary date is June the 1st. So you can start making those decisions. And then as we finish those, we'll start setting up meetings with people who roll on July 1st. At the same time, we'll be looking at having conversations with anyone who is interested in not necessarily waiting for the Januaries and the Februaries. This program is for the 2021 into 2022 year. So if in fact you choose to wait, it could be that you're plugging into this version almost a year from now, right? If you choose to wait and kind of see how it goes, you do have that option as well. Remember, this is KW My Way. So you get to make that choice as to whether or not you're going to plug into something different sooner or later. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is stop talking because, again, I know it's a whole lot of information. Yes, you'll receive this in a PDF. That will be likely later this week. Yes, we will be available to answer questions. However, we'll be available to answer questions as we get closer to some of this rolling out, right? So please don't inundate your team leaders and your MCAs with specifics. What I'd like you to do is kind of jot those down. We're going to start scheduling those sessions so that you can jump into a group session on each of the models so that there's a little bit of a mastermind around what it really means. And hopefully you get those questions answered there. And then if you still have questions about what that looks like, we will take it one-on-one. So let's open the floor up for any questions that you might have around what these options look like. And if you do so, just unmute and I will call on you as you unmute. No questions, really? Jim.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Quick question. What about for those of us agents who have not been with Keller Williams for longer than 2 years? Let's put it that way. I started December of 19. Is this prorated, if you will, or how does that work?
Yeah, so if the question is kind of how does it work if I don't have the history, right? Because a lot of things are determined on either production history or average sale price history. For those of you who have the history, it's just with other companies, we will utilize Brokermetrics and MLS data to determine what that looks like, right? Well, so it's not like previous production will be excluded. So we'll just utilize the data that we have in front of us to see where you kind of fit if you're looking to find a different option in that. If you haven't been with the company at least 12 months, right? For many of you, some of those other options won't kick in until you're here for at least 12 months, right? That is true. And so the reality of a look back period is, you know, if you're looking for a production over the last 12 months and you've been here for 4 months and you've only been an agent for 4 months, well, we don't have 12 months of production. And so again, for you, you still have opportunity. You still have the opportunity to decide between classic or collaborative, and the custom piece may be out for you in particular, right? Because you don't have an average sale price to base it on. So we then just assign you an average sale price based on what the market center averages are, right? And so custom kind of kicks in after you're here a year. However, the opportunity for you to decide between classic and collaborative still exists. There may be less flexibility for brand new agents in terms of variable splits right out of the gate, because those are based on production over at least 12 months. So Sky asks, will the features be available a la carte? So if you don't plug into a certain model that that has this stuff available. So for example, if you don't decide that collaborative is for you, right, which includes many of those systems in terms of transaction management, marketing, and things like that, will they be available a la carte for other compensation models? The answer is absolutely, absolutely. Right? We're just trying to finalize what that looks like from a pricing perspective. So that way, again, we want to make sure this is as your way as possible. If you choose to stay with classic and cap at a certain cap, and also want transaction management, we're making that available to you. It'll just be a plugin. It's kind of why the whole thing was designed with models up here on top of all of the services, because depending on the model you choose, on the house you choose to live in, right, you can plug in different ways into all of the value and services. Some of it might come at an additional cost. Some of it might be included. It depends on the house that you choose to live in, right? If that makes sense. What other questions exist? No other questions? My goodness, I thought we'd be here for 35 minutes with questions.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So just to reiterate, right? So if we're green, like me, has no track record because I just entered the space, the option is just the classic or the collaborative at some point.
Correct. Yeah. Custom is kind of off the table for you, and collaborative and Conquer are production based. So yes. But again, everybody still has an option, right? Because if you're not interested in a capped model, there is the collaborative version, which is the uncapped model, which has some of those inclusions, and so it's kind of a more supported model than the classic chip typically is, right? But those are your options. Yes, Sheila.
Hi. Can you talk more about the Keller Williams Concierge?
I will, but I'm going to push that to the end and make sure that nobody else has questions about the actual compensation options first. So hold on for that, Sheila. Hold on for that, Sheila, and I will circle back. Jen Davis.
Yeah, I think you answered it already, but so is all of this something that we have to keep track of ourselves?
Well, here's what's fun, Jen. We actually voted and you won. We thought that you would help track it. So I want everyone to give a shout out to Jennifer Davis, who is now our new official tracker. No, but that's a great question, Jen. Thank you so much. So that will, once you make a choice, the tracking of what that looks like all gets handled on the inside, right? So we have systems on the back end that if you decide to be in the collaborative model, where that the cap will be adjusted depending on your variable split opportunity, the split will be adjusted, and so that's all handled on the back end. When you submit your commission, just like you do now, right, via green sheets or commissions, you'll ultimately have in your head, well, I'm in collaborative at an 80-20 split for this year, so you'll know how to populate that. But even if you didn't, we already have it on the back end. So even if you made a mistake on it, we know what it's supposed to be on the back end. So we handle that for you.
All right, one last question.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have to pick a program from the beginning, yes?
Yeah, so another great question. And so the answer is no, not really. Once your anniversary starts to come up and we're having those conversations, you can choose. And if you don't choose, the default will just be the new version of Classic, right? So if you choose not to choose, or if for some reason you're betwixt in between and you can't make a decision, and your anniversary date rolls around, what happens is you simply default into KW Classic, the new version, so the new and improved version of KW Classic for your next anniversary year. That also brings up a question that I know is rattling around, and that is, well, what if you want to make a change midway through your year? I appreciate that, and yet these changes are going to come with a 12-month cycle, right? So at your anniversary date each year, the 30 days before will be spent figuring out what the best option is for you, and then that choice will ultimately follow you for the next 12 months. What else? What are the questions?
Rick, I'm going to follow up. I'm throwing Debbie under the bus because she first asked, how do small teams fit into the models? And then I asked, following up on that, will teammates still have a half cap?
Yeah, so great questions. So small teams, or are there things going on in the chat? I'm sorry, I don't have the chat open because I've got 77 other things open, so I didn't see your chat questions. So so small teams fit exactly like a solo agent would fit. You still get to make a choice. Rainmakers of teams get a choice between classic, KW custom, or collaborative if they so choose. Understanding that members of that team ultimately will follow suit, right? So the rainmaker will make a decision on behalf of the team, and then team members will move accordingly. So if you choose to stay inside of KW Classic, nothing really changes, right? And so if team members are already out of half cap, because that's our team policy, then that all stays. If the rainmaker chooses to move to KW Custom and qualifies for an average sale price custom cap, the team members will follow and all still be at a half cap based on market center average caps. They're not now a half cap of the rainmaker's new custom cap, because the custom cap is determined solely by the rainmaker's production, right? So it could be that in a scenario where the rainmaker fulfills the requirements for a custom cap of, say, 29,000, and yet the team members are at a half cap, say, of 35 or 17.5, there could be that dynamic where the rainmaker is at 29,000 and the team members are at a full half cap at 17.5. That is a possibility. And if the rainmaker chooses collaborative with no cap, well, then the team members also, again, kind of move along that path to the no cap collaborative piece with all the inclusions.
Thank you. And can you just quickly go over what's included in that transaction fee of the 100 or 100 plus for the other office?
Yeah, so transaction fees are nothing new. They're not a part of this rollout. That just exists now. Once you are capped, you do pay a small transaction fee because you're receiving 100%. And ultimately, what that is designed to do is to just simply cover the cost of pushing your transaction through the market center once you're being paid at 100%. Again, that's not a new part of these programs. That's existed for as long as we have existed. Another question I want to just answer kind of across the board is this something that Keller Williams Realty International has kind of brought to us that we're now bringing to you? And the answer is no. The answer is this is what we have determined makes the best sense for all of you to have options moving forward, to allow us to continue to move in the direction of added services and support, to have all of that be a win-win, and to stay focused on building bigger, better partnerships with each of you to give you more opportunity, more tools, and more value for what it is you pay. you know, let's face it, the relationship that that we have with you is a whole lot of things, and it's also a financial one, right? And so we absolutely always encourage as business owners for you to look at what you pay the market center and make sure that you're getting the best value for what it is you pay. And so a big part of what we're doing is looking to improve the value that you receive for what it is you you pay. But this is not a Keller Williams international thing. There are some market centers who are doing some things. There are some that are not. There are some that are rooted firmly in how we've offered compensation, which is that classic unaltered classic model for the last 35 years. We just wanted to be on the forefront of making sure that we recognize that evolution is always a good thing, right? We have to continue to just keep moving forward as the industry changes, as our competitors bring additional things to the marketplace, to keep you guys as forefront as we possibly can. So the answer to, is this something that Gary Keller said, here, go talk to your offices about? The answer is no. Gary did some kind of different things with his offices in Austin. We know of a couple of other offices locally that are working on versions of this or have launched something similar. But here's what's real. For the most part, most Keller Williams offices across the country have not made any kind of specific moves yet. Whether they will or not, I'm not sure, but we are. Any other questions on the actual models themselves? So I do want to address Sheila's question about KW Seller Concierge. Okay, so let me address Sheila's question. Sheila, what is it about KW Seller Concierge you have a question around?
Well, I just know that I'm going to be, one of my sellers that's going to come on is going to need it. Doesn't have the funds to do the updating. And so I'm just wondering, what are the qualifications? She doesn't have a mortgage, so, you know, that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, so you know, as mentioned, this is not a program that that is launching today. If you have someone, send me the details of it. I can look at it on a case by case. We have run one successfully through the organization already, so we do have a system that works. What we don't have yet is the foundational stuff from the attorneys that allows us to take it wider. Because when you start loaning money to a whole bunch of people, it becomes a far bigger issue than just one. So if you have something that you'd like to talk about, I'm happy to talk one-on-one with those who might have something. But it will need to fit a whole bunch. It will need to check a whole bunch of boxes before we're ready to say okay to it, because it's a little premature. We're really looking more like June or July for that to roll out officially. Anything else? It is 1:59. Anybody got a really short question? All right, well, I hope this was helpful. I hope it's as exciting to you as it is to me, because I'm really excited to be able to start plugging into all of these. Do watch for some additional information on exact timing and whatnot as to when all these hit. And like I said, we will get this out to you in writing so you can start reviewing it and developing some additional questions for yourselves and how your business is going to plug into these. And remember, there's always KW Classic if you don't want to make a change, right? I want to just underline that for a bunch of one last time, because if what's working for you is what's working for you, then you have a lane that says, you know what, I think I'm just not going to change much at all and stay exactly where I have always been. Guys, thanks for your time and attention. We're excited to continue to roll this out, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. If you're gluttons for punishment, come back at 4. We can do it all over again. And tell your friends to make sure they're on at 4 o'clock. See you later.